excited for Shadur and really looking forward to seeing what he might do at the NFL level. My expectation is that he's going to have a hell of a career.
The pressure in Cleveland had been building for weeks. Reports of tension between quarterback Shedeur Sanders and the coaching staff had already created waves, but it was the subtle jabs, questionable decisions, and lack of public defense for the rookie that truly set the stage. Finally, someone with real credibility spoke up, and it wasn't just any voice. It was Troy Aikman, the Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, and widely respected NFL analyst, stepped into the conversation and instantly flipped the momentum. Aikman didn't just comment, he made it clear that Shedeur Sanders deserves better. He called out the Browns organization for failing to provide proper support and openly questioned the choices that have left one of the most promising young quarterbacks standing on the sidelines. When Aikman speaks, the league listens. And this time the message wasn't just about football. It was about respect. It was about leadership. It was about what happens when young talent is placed in a losing system without the trust needed to succeed. So what triggered Aikman's unexpected intervention?
They're not going to give up on him too quickly. And that would probably open up a can of worms for them if they start throwing Shadur in there, even in spot duty right now. So I'm not really feeling that or really seeing it. But I will say this. In practice, Shedeur Sanders has been making a ton of progress. He looks really good. I've been saying this over and over again. If you put Shadur and Dylan Gabriel side by side or one after the other in a 7-on-7 red zone drill.
According to insiders, several key incidents led to this moment. The first, Shadur was reportedly excluded from game plans even as backup quarterbacks struggled. The second, the viral clip showing Sanders on the sideline, fully geared and mentally locked in, yet never given a snap. The third, anonymous leaks framing Shadur as not ready, despite reports of flawless practice sessions and strong chemistry with the receivers. That combination of narrative control, media manipulation, and silent undermining created a narrative Aikman wasn't willing to tolerate. His response was bold, concise, and real. A direct critique of the Browns' leadership and an acknowledgement of why so many players, fans, and analysts are pushing back. To see a figure like Aikman jump into the spotlight for Shadur changed the entire tone of this story. This wasn't just fan outrage anymore. It wasn't just social media taking sides. It became a national conversation with real credibility attached. And what made this moment hit even harder was the timing. The Browns were already under heavy scrutiny for inconsistent play, questionable coaching decisions, and a quarterback carousel that seemed more reactionary than strategic. With the media dissecting every move and the fan base losing patience, Aikman's comments didn't just add fuel to the fire. They legitimized the flames. Other players, analysts, and former coaches started weighing in too, publicly or privately, all hinting at the same conclusion. No one understands why Sanders hasn't been allowed to lead. And now that someone with Aikman's legacy said it out loud, the silence from Cleveland became even louder. This is the ripple effect one major voice can have in the NFL. And the Browns might be realizing too late that this is no longer just a locker room issue. It's a league-wide discussion exposing their internal leadership failures. Aikman didn't mince words. On live broadcast during one of the biggest media weeks of the season, he pointed out what millions already felt. Shedeur Sanders wasn't being treated fairly in Cleveland. "You don't bring in a talent like that just to leave him cold on the sideline," Aikman said with calm conviction. "If you're going to draft a quarterback that special, you better be ready to build around him, not hold him back." The delivery wasn't dramatic, it was surgical. Aikman spoke with that unmistakable tone of a former player who has been there, a quarterback who knows what it's like to face unfair expectations while being judged on a system designed to fail.
What have you seen out of Shedeur Sanders? Do you like his game? Do you think he is a franchise quarterback? What do you make of Shadur, Troy?
I do think he's a franchise quarterback. I love his game. I've obviously been watching him for a number of years. I know his father intimately well, and wish him the best, of course, as well. So what Shedur's been able to do has been remarkable.
And he made sure his message landed directly at the feet of head coach Kevin Stefanski and the Browns organization. If this kid was in Dallas, New England, or even Detroit right now, he would have gotten his shot already. He pointed out how Sanders' college to NFL transition has been managed poorly, how the staff seemed committed to protecting their own egos over building a real quarterback room, and how the media narrative fell in line with organizational politics instead of observing what's been happening on the field. It wasn't just a critique of Stefanski. It was a shot at the entire way the Browns have operated. Aikman knows talent when he sees it. His view wasn't nostalgic or emotionally driven. It was based on film, execution, and the undeniable shift in the locker room. Sanders has all the tools, and yet somehow nothing was being done with it. That's why players inside the Browns immediately reacted. Several current and former teammates of Shadur, including veterans who previously stayed quiet, reposted clips of Aikman's comments on their Instagrams, liking tweets and leaving cryptic emojis under posts that suggested they agreed. Even players on other teams began speaking up privately. A retired AFC quarterback told a reporter off record, "Every young QB should pray someone like Troy speaks up for them." Suddenly, Aikman wasn't just defending Sanders, he was defending all young quarterbacks placed in bad situations and then blamed for it. And that's the real reason this moment shook the league. Aikman isn't known for taking social stances or joining public narrative battles. His status as an old-school, respected purist makes his statements even more impactful. When he speaks, it's because something matters. And this mattered enough for him to step across media lines and counter the Browns' narrative directly. It's extremely rare for a Hall of Famer to insert himself into a developing controversy unless he's outraged by what he sees. That alone sent shockwaves through the NFL landscape. Behind the scenes, this wasn't just about interviews or broadcasts. The situation inside Cleveland's locker room was shifting long before Aikman stepped in. Players have been quietly speaking about a divide that started as tension and turned into a mutiny. Reports say that several key starters began voicing frustration after seeing Shadur consistently outperform Dylan Gabriel and still remain benched. Receivers whose chemistry with Sanders looked elite in practice were just as confused. Running backs who praised his leadership off camera started questioning the coaching staff's decision-making. The tipping point came after a closed-door meeting where Stefanski allegedly blamed Sanders' lack of readiness, a statement many insiders say was completely false based on what they'd witnessed firsthand. Once Aikman backed the rookie publicly, everything changed. Players no longer felt the need to whisper. They began posting subtle messages online, sharing clips, and engaging with media accounts that sided with Sanders. Even those who didn't explicitly mention him made it clear that respect for Stefanski was dropping fast. The team that started the year united was now fractured, and every practice made the divide more obvious. Veterans reportedly approached ownership, some demanding answers, others distancing themselves from the coaching staff altogether. It wasn't just frustration, it was disbelief. Everyone saw the same thing, a coach refusing to adapt, refusing to let the future take shape, and refusing to give a rising star the chance to lead. That's where the real problem lies. NFL franchises can withstand losses. They can withstand bad draft picks, but they cannot withstand divided locker rooms. Players watch everything. Who gets favored, who gets criticized, whose mistakes are excused, and whose efforts are ignored. When a rookie outworks everyone, earns the respect of the room, and still gets sidelined, that creates bitterness deeper than any scoreboard loss. And that's exactly what has happened to Cleveland. Even worse for the Browns, several agents are now monitoring the situation closely. If the players don't believe in the system, they'll eventually leave. If the coaching staff loses the room, the team becomes unstable. And right now, insiders say that Stefanski's control over the locker room is nearly gone. Some believe he's already lost it completely, and Aikman's comments only accelerated the process. This isn't about one quarterback anymore. This is about an entire roster learning that leadership was never truly about winning. It was about maintaining status, and they're done following it. Before Aikman spoke out, the media narrative around Shedeur Sanders was lukewarm and often skewed by anonymous leaks. Headlines described him as unready, still developing, learning the playbook, or adjusting to the speed of the league. But the moment Aikman stepped in, everything shifted. Suddenly, that narrative was exposed as smoke and mirrors. Analysts who once danced around the subject of Sanders' benching began to ask direct questions. Debate shows flipped overnight. Journalists who had previously backed the organization were now openly calling out inconsistencies between the coaching staff's comments and what was visible on film. The story was no longer about whether Sanders could play. It became a story about why he wasn't allowed to play. The question was no longer, is Shadur ready, but why is Cleveland holding him back? That's a significant shift, and it's not one that happens often for rookies. Usually it takes seasons, accolades, or dominant performances to move the needle. Sanders didn't need any of that. The league already respects him, and once the media leaned in, fans followed. Hashtags in support of Sanders trended online. YouTubers dissected his college tape side by side with the Browns' current offense to highlight bizarre coaching choices. Even casual fans began to understand this wasn't just drama, it was a battle over the future of a franchise. More importantly, Sanders became something bigger than just a controversial rookie. He became a symbol, a stand against old-school gatekeeping, over-controlling leadership, and ego-fueled coaching that hurts young talent. The public saw a composed, focused player being held back while others crumbled on the field. They saw flawless sideline behavior, strong interviews, respect for teammates, everything that should earn a quarterback support. That image clashed with the narrative being pushed by the coaching staff, and once Aikman called it out, the truth was impossible to ignore. From ESPN to Undisputed, NFL Live to endless fan podcasts, Sanders is now being positioned as the most exciting quarterback story in the league. Not because he started games, but because he might represent the exact change the NFL needed. And if he eventually takes the field in Cleveland or elsewhere, the spotlight will already be waiting. No one's calling him a prospect anymore, they're calling him a movement. The Browns may have underestimated the power of public perception, but Aikman's backing made one thing clear. People are watching now, and they're not going to forget what Cleveland did when they had a franchise changer in their hands. The ripples from Aikman's defense didn't stop in the media or the locker room. They hit the front office hard. Browns ownership, already aware of the pressure building from fans and analysts, now finds itself in the crosshairs. The situation has gotten so toxic that ownership must make a decision: stand behind a coach whose authority is collapsing, or back the quarterback who's quickly becoming the face of the franchise. And with every day that passes, the gap between Stefanski and Sanders widens. Reports say that following Aikman's broadcast, Stefanski was confronted by both players and leadership about the quarterback situation. He allegedly defended his decisions by pointing to system fit, playbook retention, and organizational timing. But those excuses no longer hold weight in the public eye, especially when Sanders has reportedly tested off the charts in film room evaluations, audibles, and adjusted timing routes in practice. Even if Stefanski believes in his approach, the narrative has shifted beyond his control. He's now fighting perception as much as performance, and perception is winning. Multiple sources claim ownership has already met privately to discuss the future of the coaching staff. That's not unusual late in the season, but the difference now is urgency. Stefanski is no longer viewed as a stability piece. He's seen as the obstacle. What's worse is that Sanders represents something ownership can't afford to lose. He's not just a player, he's a marketing engine, a fan magnet, and possibly a generational talent. If the Browns allow him to walk because the coach refused to adapt, this will go down as one of the worst personnel disasters in modern NFL history. And let's be honest, everybody knows that quarterbacks are a franchise's most valuable asset. But even beyond the football implications, Sanders holds cultural influence that extends to younger fans, cross-sport audiences, and even college athletes who now view the NFL differently. Losing him would be catastrophic, not just from a football perspective, but from an identity standpoint. The Browns aren't just risking games, they're risking relevance. Stefanski's clock is ticking, and if he's removed, it won't just be because of a losing record. It'll be because he mishandled the moment that could have changed everything. Aikman's intervention may have been the first domino, but the fall is already in motion, and the Browns have to decide which side they're on. At its core, Troy Aikman's defense of Shedeur Sanders wasn't just about football, it was about integrity, it was about truth, and it was a direct challenge to a system that still values control over potential, reputation over growth, and ego over evolution. Aikman's comments weren't emotional, they were calculated, and they were delivered by someone who has seen what happens when a franchise mishandles a once-in-a-generation opportunity. He wasn't just defending Sanders, he was calling out every team, coach, and executive still operating with outdated thinking. There's a reason the NFL reacted the way it did. Players talk, coaches talk, agents talk, but Hall of Famers set the tone. Now, every young quarterback who feels unfairly benched or mismanaged sees hope. Every coach trying to build a career off the back of controlled opportunity instead of development is now being watched. And every front office that ignored locker room energy in favor of public image is being exposed. The power dynamic is changing, and in many ways, Cleveland became the test case for the new NFL era. Whether or not Sanders ends up starting for the Browns, the conversation will follow him everywhere. Fans are locked in, media is alert, players are aware, And more importantly, Shadur himself has remained calm through all of it, a trait that shouldn't go overlooked. Many rookies would have cracked. Many would have made the moment about themselves. Instead, Sanders won the league over by not needing to say a word because everyone else said it for him. That alone validates Aikman's belief. This is a quarterback ready for the spotlight, not someone shrinking from it. So here we are. A Hall of Famer stepped in. A franchise is under fire. A rookie holds the future in his hands. And a generation of fans just witnessed the power of speaking up when it matters most. To everyone watching, this is not just football anymore. This is a shift in the culture of leadership, respect, and accountability. And whether you're riding for the Browns or rooting for chaos, you're witnessing history in motion. If you're invested in this story, stay tapped in. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown like this. The next chapter is coming, and trust it's going to be even bigger.